Yo, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another episode of Mad Mondays. Thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Nomad222. You guys don't know who I am. I am a rapper, I'm an event producer, I'm a content creator, I do a bunch of different stuff. But most importantly, I'm a father of four. Got four little ones at home. And right now I'm driving home. I'm actually driving to childcare to pick up my son. Just finished work, so I'm leaving my job. For those of you who don't know, I work in Multicultural Arts Victoria. And of course, if this is your first time tuning in to Mad Mondays, this is the series where every Monday I answer some questions. I answer 7 questions to let you guys in on who I am as an artist, as a human being, and hopefully, demystify the curtain of, what I do as a performer, as well as, just who I am on a fundamental level. So that way you guys can, just get to know me, and hopefully you like who I am, or you can decide for yourselves if who I am is a little bit too much for you, or if I'm not on brand with what you guys are into. So anyway, let's get into this episode. So this is episode number 6, and these questions are going to be centered around what my biggest challenges are. And the first question that we have here is, what has been the most significant challenge you faced in your music career? And for me personally, the biggest challenge that I've faced is, I would have to say, just being that I'm from Melbourne, that I'm in Naarm, that I'm in Australia. The music industry here is a lot different to, the music industry in the US, especially. And also, there's just the population compared to how big the country is. Does make it a little bit more difficult. It's hard for people to, really break out here, because there's not that many people here to, be able to create a market. And with that being said, population is growing every single year, every single day. So it's not the biggest excuse, but I will say, it definitely has something to do with how many people show out to your shows, how many people stream your music, how many people you can actually get your music in front of, so that they're exposed to you and your artistry. Because that's half the mission right there, just getting in front of the people and then being able to let them decide whether or not they are the right people or the wrong people. So that's definitely one of the biggest challenges. But that actually makes me think of another one of the biggest challenges, which is the fact that, the timing for me hasn't been the best. I know that sounds like a cop-out, but let me break that down by what I mean. So I started taking this seriously in 2015, but really didn't get my first opportunity to, establish myself as an artist or a working artist until 2018, 2019. That's when I had my first performance as Nomad222. I put my first mixtape out in 2017, but I try and forget about that era, because it was more just for trial and error, like just learning. And we don't talk about that mixtape, but that's the timeline of where I'm at. And now it's 2024. It's been nearly 10 years since I started taking this seriously, and I've barely made a dent, or in my mind, in terms of where I want, what my measure of success is, I've barely made a dent in the industry. I want to be able to do this full time. That's my measure of success. It's not about fancy things. It's not about living lavish or luxury. It's just about being able to do music full time and content creation full time. And I'm not able to do that. I'm nowhere close. But the timing, what I'm trying to bring up about the timing is that, within that 9-year time frame, we've seen the emergence of drill music, especially in Australia, the emergence of 1-4, HP Boys, Lissy, all those groups who rap with a specific accent, who rap a specific genre or subgenre of hip hop. And it's not something that I grew up with or that I'm accustomed to, especially that lifestyle as well. So I grew up in an era where it wasn't cool to rap with the Aussie accent. And I also grew up, I've been in Melbourne my entire life, but I still wouldn't say that I was surrounded by people who embraced that accent. I've been surrounded by people whose music taste and culture was influenced heavily by the States. And for me personally, like all the rappers that I looked up to, aside, with Scribe being the exception and maybe even Savage to an extent, all the rappers that I looked up to were based in New York. Jay-Z's based, from Brooklyn, and Nas, and even the West Coast, growing up on Ice Cube and NWA and all those rappers. And, later on in my years, being exposed to what Atlanta music's like, what the South has to offer, and Outkast, Lil Wayne from NOLA, and, all these different American genres of hip hop and subgenres. That's my exposure to it. So I witnessed a turn. This is such a long-winded way of explaining this question, but the biggest challenge for me is just witnessing that turn from where it was uncool to be an Aussie rapper to now this is the norm, and whoever doesn't fit into that box is now niche, right? And just in hip-hop in general, not just geographically, but I witnessed the turn of where real hip-hop lyricism, using the OG terms, like rap songs where you're actually rapping about something with substance. When that was normal, that's what I grew up on. I grew up listening to Lauryn Hill and hearing, Do Up That Thing and all of the bars that she was spitting that actually meant something. And I grew up on, Jay-Z's storytelling, and even Kanye West's early stuff like Through the Wire and Jesus Walks, like real bars. And then to witness it go from that to Future. Future's always the example that I bring up. He always promotes the exact same thing. There's nothing of substance. He's always saying the same stuff, but for some reason he's considered a legend in this game. And personally, I don't understand it. I know that sounds like an attack on Future, but let's be real. I'm not his target demographic anyway. But what I'm trying to get at is that I witnessed that turn, and I was impacted by that turn where society decided that hip-hop was the dumb genre where it's just about beats and flow, and now it's like introducing melodic tones and everything like that, but bars don't matter anymore, at least to the general audience, the casual fans of hip-hop. They just want to hear some that typical like Migos type flow. And look, I like some of the Migos songs, and I don't want to disrespect the Migos catalog, but it's the same thing as Future. Like I rarely hear anything of substance from them. They have their moments, but for the most part, it's usually just about the same stuff: lean, bitches, whips, all the same sort of stuff. And not to say that NWA wasn't like that too, but I know that Cube was definitely making a point to try and flex his pen and and make sure that there was some wit behind the bars he was crafting. So that's where I kind of got stuck, and I've struggled with my own identity and figuring out what kind of artist I want to be. I'm a lot more confident in being able to say that I know who I am as an artist, and I'm going to stick to that. And if my people find me, they find me. If they don't, then they're not my people. But it took me a long time to get to that point. That was the challenge for me, because for the longest time I was like, wow, I really got to adapt. I got to dumb it down. I gotta make sure that I'm more melodic, and I gotta make sure that I have the ability to tap into every single subgenre of hip hop so that I don't lose any potential fans. But over time, the resilience has grown, and I'm able to say that I only experiment with different sounds if I want to experiment with those sounds. So yeah, that's that in a nutshell. Question number 2. Wow, that took near 10 minutes and we're only up to question number 2. How did you navigate that challenge, and what did you learn from it? Okay, so I navigated it just by, over time, slowly, beginning to work on myself. I had to work on myself in my personal life. I had to rediscover the root of, why I started this. And why I decided that it was okay for me to start. And I always said from the beginning that I needed it to be authentic to me, right? And the minute that it started to become way outlandish for who I am and as a person, that's ultimately when I needed to make that shift. I started to create songs and start to get a little bit too lenient about what I was going to let infiltrate my narratives, and just lying, just capping too much on records, and getting to a point where I'm making up characters and telling myself that it's okay to fabricate stuff. It's just for story. But there's honestly a limit to that. Like, yeah, you can make stories, you can write from different perspectives, you can go the Joyner Lucas route or the Eminem route, and you can make a song like Stan or Ross Cappuccini, but you can't give out this false image or portrayal of yourself that you have guns and that you have knives and shanks and shivs, when that's not you. And that's not a narrative that I'm trying to perpetuate for myself. I'm trying to stay true to who I am. And who I am is, I'm a father of four. I have my own struggles, and most of my struggles have to do with financial, damn near poverty, lifestyle, and things of that nature. Like, and trying to emancipate the minds of the people around me to understand that they can do whatever they dream, and that nothing is impossible or out of the realm of possibility. And one of the ways that I'm doing that is by leading by example. If I can do it, you can do it too. And I'm yet to prove that concept, but I'm well on the way, and I've been working and grinding my ass off for damn near 10 years to make that proof of concept. But we're getting there. But anyway, that's how I learned to overcome it. Just regrouping, getting back to the root of getting back to the reason why, and just reevaluating where I was at. Like I said, a lot of work on self. Question number 3 is, are there any recurring challenges you encounter as an independent artist? There's plenty of challenges that I encounter as an independent artist. I mean, it's the fact that I am independent. It's so hard to juggle all of these hats, and I've spoken on it many times in the past year, just about how, my expertise that I'm highly confident in is my ability to write and songwrite and, come up with different songs and perspectives. That's what my expertise is. Everything else outside of that is just something that I've had to pick up along the way because I don't have anyone to do it for me. It's just out of necessity. So being able to book my own shows, or being able to create an electronic press kit, or put a business together and understand my business model, is things that I still make mistakes on because it's not my expertise. But out of necessity, because of the fact that I am an independent artist, I need to learn those things. And that's the biggest challenge, is, being able to stretch the bandwidth of my brain that far, because I don't have anyone on my side that's able to do that for me. Or I don't want to burden anyone else with the pressure of, making my career what I want it to be. Because everyone's got their own lives and aspirations. Everyone's got their own things that they want to achieve, or everyone's just trying to make it through the day. So for me to come in and be like, hey, can you call up these venues for me and see if they can arrange a show? I don't really want to be doing that. But that's probably the challenge that's always reoccurring. Every time I got a new single release, I always come across things that I didn't have in my to-do list, whether it's like reaching out to radio stations and seeing if we can book in interviews, or if we can get them to play it on the air, or whether it's responding to different emails. Like it'll just come up out of nowhere, and I'll think that I have everything all planned out based on what I've done before, but there's always something that slips through the cracks, and I go, wait, that wasn't on the list. I got to prioritize that right now because I didn't have it planned out, and now I got to shuffle everything around. So yeah, it's always a constant balancing act. Like when you go to the circus and there's that guy that's like balancing on a bowl, and he's got 2 sticks, and he's balancing the plates at the same time, and he's got a plate on his head, and he's trying to balance that, and inevitably he'll drop something. Like that's me constantly. Like, but you kind of have to learn to be okay with that. Question number 4 is, how do you maintain motivation during tough times? I gotta say, there's a lot of times where I burn myself out. I'm constantly, burning the candle on both ends, and just trying to make things work. And I lose motivation all the time. And it does get quite difficult to like pick myself up. But, I've been at this for nearly 10 years now, and I'm still not showing any signs of quitting. I'm still putting this content out. So I gotta say, it's definitely a lot of self-reliance. Just as a man, as a default setting, due to my male nature, I bottle a lot of things in, and there's a lot of things that I'm unwilling to share with the people around me, just because of, I guess, fear that they won't understand exactly what I'm going through. And that's another thing too. That's probably one of the other reoccurring challenges, is just understanding is the constant reminders of how isolating this lifestyle is. It's a very rare path that's being taken, and I know that's a funny thing for me to say with all of the friends that I have in this industry, but there's no outlined process or thing. Like, if you've ever worked at a job, or you've ever left a job and your role is very specific, you have to do a handover. And like in that handover, you have to outline the full process of what the next person coming in to fill your role, what they're going to be doing, like on a day-to-day, year-to-year sort of level. There's no handover process for artists. There's no full outline. And on the flip side, there's also too many blueprints and too many designs of how to do this correctly. And the results always vary. I could probably find a process that Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine did to create the empire that they have now. I could probably do the same thing with like a Jermaine Dupri. Look at the Jacksons. I could probably copy Joe Jackson or the Jacksons like blueprint and, try and do that, but it's not going to be the same results for me. And every time someone establishes a blueprint, that becomes their blueprint. So if you copy that person's blueprint too much, if you copy it to the T, you might not achieve success, because people are going to have that connotation that he just copied what that person did. He just copied what Jay-Z did. He just copied what T.I. did, or whoever. So that's definitely a challenge there. But, there's just something inside of me, and I feel like a lot of artists can relate to this, that is constantly saying, if I give up now, then I will never know. Like, it's that guy's cat, whatever that Russian dude's cat is called. Like, you don't know, Pavlov's dog, where that dog could be dead on the inside, on the other side of the door, or it could be alive. You never know for sure. The only way to know is to do the thing. I didn't mean to make that so morbid, but that's what I have inside of me. Like, there are many times, and I'll be 100% honest, it would be so much easier for me if I just quit today and just did something else tomorrow. If I had the ability to just switch off that part of my brain that makes me consider, what else is behind the curtain, or what if I take the red pill or whatever. But if I could switch that part off in the back of my brain that tells me that there's more, and learn to be content with just doing a normal job or whatever, then yeah, maybe that would be so much easier for me. But I can't. I think it's called narcissism. I think it's called being up yourself, or cocky, or whatever, or at least that's what the tall poppy syndromes would tell you. Anyway, yeah, there's just something there. That's my answer to number 4. Number 5 is, what support systems do you have in place to help you overcome challenges? The main support system for me is my family. You know, I've got a beautiful partner who's always supported my music and believed in my music no matter what we've gone through. And we've gone through some tough times. And I've made some dumb decisions in the past before. You know, I've been involved in 2 MLMs, multi-level marketing schemes. I've been involved in 2, not 1, but 2 pyramid schemes. And she's stuck by my side the entire time. They've both failed. I've never made it that far. It's been a terrible investment. But she still believed in me throughout all of that. And even when we get into arguments, you know, when you get into those stupid arguments with your partner and like you're going back and forth and you say things that you don't mean, to her credit, she has never thrown music back in my face. She's never told me that, you know, I'll never make it or, you know, you won't ever be shit. She 100% believes that I have something when it comes to this music thing. And the same thing goes for my parents. The same thing goes for my kids, my siblings. My family believe in me. They believe in what I'm doing. They're not sure about if I can make it with the climate of the thing, but that's as far as it goes. It's not an uncertainty around whether I make good music or have the ability to do something. It's just, you know, when or how. So yeah, that's the main support system for me. And the other support system, like creating music itself, is a support system. Being able to pull whatever I'm feeling or pull from my experiences and put it into lyrics and put it over a beat into music, that in itself is a support system. You know, and I don't necessarily, there's a lot of music that I've made that I've never put out before because it's just for me, because I needed to get it out. And there's a lot of artists who do that same thing. And for a lot of artists, it's their number one support system. It's the only thing that they can do. And that's quite sad, but, you know, it's a reality for some. And, you know, that's therapeutic in a sense. Anyway, number 6 is how have your challenges shaped your music and storytelling? I mean, since being a dad, you know, I think I said this in one of the previous episodes. Being a father has shaped how I make music tremendously. It's also put a clock on my every day. I don't want to say that I was like, you know, lackadaisical before I had kids, but I definitely, you know, felt like I had all the time in the world. But as soon as I found out that I was having a child, you know, it wasn't 9 months, but, you know, however many months between that day to when she was born, you know, that immediately lit a fire up under my ass. Like, man, I got to get as much done right now between now and her birth as I possibly can to, you know, set us up. And, you know, every single day has been like that. I'm constantly feeling like the clock is ticking on, you know, not just me, but my career, and more specifically to achieve the success that I want so that I can live the life that I want to be able to live. Like, you know, I'm putting in so much work. I'm putting in so much overtime on purpose right now while they're little, just for the idea that, you know, this music can get me to a point where I'm doing music every day and then I can clock out. I can clock out correctly, like properly clock out, switch off, and just hang out with my kids, hang out with my family. One of the things that my partner noticed, like straight away, as soon as we, you know, moved in together and like started living together as parents and, you know, raising a family, was that every time we would go out and do something with like her family or even just our family, like I would go into a mode of depression straight afterwards. Like she's always been big on camping. And I like camping too. I went to a lot of camps like growing up and stuff, but I hate that feeling of coming back knowing that like all that fun that we just had that weekend was just for that weekend. And now we got to reset financially, and we got to reset mentally, and we got to go back to working at a shit job that we don't enjoy. And we're just going to be in that cycle of doing that all over again. We escape for a little bit of time. And it's an escape. It literally is an escape from the everyday. Just so that we can come back and do it all over again. And I hate that. I feel like Neo from the Matrix. I literally feel like I'm in the Matrix. And it's a terrible feeling. Like I feel like I know people who don't think like that at all. And I think how wonderful that must be. How amazing would it be to wake up and not feel like you're in this rat spinning circle, like whatever that thing is, where they're running up the circle treadmill or whatever, rat wheel or something. I constantly feel like that, and then I get all depressed and I get like really down on myself, and it's hard to wake up the next morning and clock in and shit like that. You know, the biggest example that I can think of that comes to mind was the day after that I performed with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra. You know, I performed with them at the Sydney Mime Music Bowl in front of a sold out crowd, and it was amazing. And the next day I gotta wake up and I gotta clock in so that I can go lift some boxes and pick and pack. Like, that's not what I want to be doing with my life. I wanted to be able to wake up and go into the studio and lock in and start working on new music because I was inspired by the night before. But I can't do that because I need to make this money the only way that I know how, because I'm limited in my life. So yeah, that's my answer to question number 6 about how the challenges have shaped my music and storytelling. Number 7, what advice would you give to others facing similar obstacles? Just keep trying, and it's honestly, you cannot give up. It's gonna get hard. It's gonna be super difficult. It's still hard for me right now. I'm not making money from music right now, right? Even when I do shows, I don't make a profit from it because all of that goes straight back into life and, you know, reinvesting into the music and how I can make it, how I can market it. Not to mention all the hours that I've put in that are just in-kind hours, free hours of just labor, and I'm not seeing a return on it just yet. But you can't give up. You have to continue to go, especially if you know in your heart of hearts that what you are doing is a means to an end, that it's gonna work. If you know for sure, if you have unrelenting confidence that you can do it, why wouldn't you do it? All right? Even though I haven't seen a return on my investment just yet, I know in my heart of hearts that everything that I am doing is going to pay off eventually. All right? You got to play the long game. There's going to be short-term wins. There's also going to be short-term losses. But you're not thinking about the bigger picture. And that's what you have to see. You have to see the vision in order to realize the vision. Because if you don't see it, if you don't honestly believe that you have the ability to be one of the biggest artists on the planet, then what the fuck are you even doing here? What are you even doing here? Honestly. It's the same in anything that you do in life. Whether it's sports, you know, you could be playing basketball, you could be playing football, you could be doing music, you could be doing anything in your life. You could be playing Fortnite, for fuck's sake. You could be doing anything in this life, but if you don't believe that you can be the greatest of all time, then what the fuck are you wasting your time for? Go get a job, bro. But me, I honestly believe since day one that I have the ability to be one of the greatest to ever do it. So you gotta have that same belief in yourself. And that's, you know, that's not me. That's Kobe Bryant. That's Mamba mentality. And on that note, that is episode number 6, biggest challenges. And remember, please, if you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't like it, hit that dislike button as well. Any engagement is good for me. Comment below what your favorite part was. Comment below if you have similar experiences. If you have any other questions that you want me to answer, I'm going to be doing a separate series. And yeah, just any questions that you want to ask me about the industry, about me as a person, feel free to drop them below. Share this around. And remember, we're trying to get a plaque. We're trying to get one of those platinum plaques. We're trying to get one of those play buttons for YouTube. So subscribe to the channel, run it up, and make sure you stream my music on all platforms too, because that's super important. But I appreciate you guys for watching. Much love. And remember, together we move.